Let's move to next agenda. To ignite our potential, we have to ignite our thinking too. The best way to have a clear thought is to pen it down. And Milt has provided a great medium to this by writing a technical paper. It's time for the technical paper presentation. I would like to call upon the panel of judges on the stage. Put your hands together to Executive Director of Milt Global, Miltonian C. Grahadurai. The Chairman of Josh25, Miltonian Tushar Parak. Let's now welcome the technical paper judges, Miltonian Vijay Bargrotra, Miltonian Aruna Giri, and Miltonian Guna Shekhar. The topic of the paper is continuous learning, staying relevant in the fast-changing world. The title, The Infinite Spiral of Learning. Hailing from the true Miltonian family of Parak, she has been immersed in the spirit of Milt since her childhood by attending the Milt alumni meets, witnessing the grand convention preparation, and absorbing the timeless Milt HR principle shared by her parents and fellow Miltonians. Ever since she first heard the TPs at the past convention, she dreamt of writing one herself. This year, a topic resonates deeply with her, and she finally decided to give it a shot. And the result is a heartfelt masterpiece that truly struck the chord of all judges. Also an Indian classical student, she is currently pursuing his second year of Visharat in Kathak. She is exploring her creativity side as a freelancer model and content creator. Alongside her artistic pursuit, she has completed her graduation as a bachelor in fashion designing. Her success mantra, learn with curiosity, lead with humility, live with purpose. Let's come together to give a big celebration to congratulate the TP winner of Josh25, the first TP writer from Pune chapter, the youngest of all, Miltonian Diya Parak. A quick note before we start. The time for technical paper presentation is 15 minutes, and it will be followed by the question and answer for 20 minutes. Now I request the writer to come at the podium and read out the paper.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topic of my paper is Continuous Learning, Staying Relevant in a Fast-Changing World, and the title of my paper is The Infinite Spiral of Learning. Prologue, the first wake-up call. Most would say learning is about knowing more, remembering more, being more prepared than the next person. But over time, I've learned that real learning rarely announces itself with certificates, ranks, or applause. More often, it arrives as a silent nudge that who I am today isn't enough for who I want to become tomorrow. It's when something you thought you were good at suddenly humbles you, or when effort doesn't equal outcome. It leaps out through experience and failure. And yet, this understanding didn't come to me in school or college. It began years ago on a wooden dance floor. I was 10 when I began learning Kathak. At 12, I'd started competing. I'd watch my fellow dancers, their grace, their confidence, and wonder why, despite hours of riyas, I brought home no trophies. It took me a while and quite a few crushed hopes to understand what my guru hadn't said out loud. That learning a craft isn't limited to what's taught. It's about how deeply you choose to see. To truly grow, I had to observe beyond the classroom, to find rhythm in the sway of trees, to see movement in traffic, to absorb expression from conversations, films, and even strangers. Slowly, I learned to take in the world around me and let it find its place within my craft. And that's when I truly began to evolve as a dancer. That experience taught me my first real lesson in continuous learning. It's not about adding more steps, but about deepening your presence in the journey. Chapter 1: Learning to Learn. By the time I was in the 12th grade, I had decided I wanted to study fashion. I imagined runways, sketches, and all the glamour that came with it. However, what I didn't imagine, and what came as a largely unpleasant surprise, was math. My idea of fashion at the time was entirely rooted in aesthetics. However, I was aware that I didn't really know what I was choosing. Looking for answers, I found myself interning at a small boutique near home. This place didn't make headlines or dress celebrities. But I learned at close range, under buzzing tube lights, over the clatter of sewing machines, and in the quiet concentration of karigars hunched over embroidery hoops. My first realization was design wasn't all creativity. It was about precision, about turning a two-dimensional idea into a three-dimensional reality that had to fit both the human form and the client's emotions. Suddenly, my world was filled with dart placements, drape calculations, and pattern drafting. Geometry, a subject I had gladly left behind, made its unfortunate way back, unannounced. Learning no longer looked like art. It was numbers, rulers, and problem solving. This made me recognize that learning to learn was a skill in itself. It requires unlearning assumptions, surrendering the ego, shedding certainty, and developing the humility to start from zero, even when you think you're passionate about something. Passion without patience is just noise. True learning for me began when I replaced the question, what do I want to do, with what do I need to understand? Chapter 2: Learning to Fail. If you were to glance at my undergrad fashion portfolio, you might assume things came super easily to me. In reality, one of the core skills expected of any fashion student was the one I struggled with the most: sketching. While my peers brought sketchbooks to life with fluid figures, ruffles, and expressive line work, my drawings felt stiff and increasingly unsure. My ideas were solid, my silhouettes worked, my test fits were clean, my garments were beautiful. But in a field that thrives on visual storytelling, I simply couldn't render my thoughts. At first, it felt like quiet humiliation, to be good at the work, but bad at explaining it. My efforts weren't just overlooked, they were misunderstood. And with every evaluation, the message echoed louder. Your idea just isn't coming through. I kept telling myself, you're just not the sketching type. Or worse, that I didn't belong in fashion at all. It was tempting to retreat, but in that discomfort, I was forced to find an alternative. If I couldn't communicate through drawing, could I use texture? Could I create physical swatches, digital experiments, and formats that spoke without sketching? Eventually, I stopped chasing approval in someone else's language and created my own design vocabulary. By my final year, not only had my approach evolved, it was recognized. I graduated as a rank holder not in spite of my failures, but because of them. Failure, I've come to believe, is not the absence of success. It's when you're expected to reinvent. What truly holds us back isn't actually failure. It's the fear that if we fall behind once, we'll never catch up. But growth has never been a straight line, has it? It happens when we're willing to stop, rethink, and start from scratch. Chapter 3, Learning to Let Go. For the longest time, fashion felt like my calling. It was the world I dreamed of, trained for, and chased with everything I had. So as I left for my final project and packed my bags for Mumbai, I believed I was exactly where I was meant to be. But life doesn't always follow passion's blueprint. Behind the glossy storefronts and design houses, I encountered a side of the fashion industry I hadn't prepared for. One driven by speed over soul, mass production over ethics, and an increasing wave of unsustainable practices. As someone that has always advocated the importance of ethical manufacturing, I became tremendously uncomfortable. For months, I resisted the growing discomfort. I told myself that it wasn't a big deal, that enterprises need to make certain choices that may not be in everyone's best interest. But discomfort, when it speaks from your core, rarely lies. Around the same time, my father, who had long hoped I'd join the family business, kept reminding me that home was always an option. He spoke with quiet conviction, not coercion. And one day, with nothing more than a fragile sense of trust, I decided to leap into the unknown. Suddenly, I was dealing not with fabrics and textiles, but with onions and potatoes. The first few months were filled with doubt. I told myself I was just buying time. But somewhere along the way, I started noticing how my father approached his work, with depth, nuance, and an almost poetic attention to detail. Slowly, my detachment turned into curiosity. Grocery shopping became research. Produce sections became supply chain puzzles. I started asking better questions, seeing patterns, noticing how food, like fashion, tells a story of seasons, of people, of values. Eventually, I enrolled in a food analysis course, diving deeper into a space that once felt too foreign. Letting go of fashion didn't mean letting go of creativity or my purpose. It meant pausing one version of a dream to allow a new one to take root. It also meant recognizing that sometimes clarity isn't born in momentum, it's born in stillness and in surrender. Today, while I don't have all the answers, I feel more aligned than ever because I realized that letting go wasn't a setback. It was the courage to trust that growth may lie in directions I hadn't planned. Chapter 4, Learning to Teach. 13 years ago, I learned how to spin. Today, I teach others how not to fall. When I first stepped onto a wooden dance floor as a child, I thought Kathak was about grace, about beauty, rhythm, and the intoxicating rush of a perfect performance. But now, after over a decade of learning, failing, pausing, and returning, I see it differently. For me, Kathak isn't about moving my body anymore. It's about what it took to return to my body. During college, I took a 3-year break from dance. I told myself I was too busy, that I'd get back to it eventually. But when I finally did, I realized time had not waited. The spins I once knew by muscle memory now made me dizzy. My feet forgot tal. My posture collapsed. It took me nearly a year of painful, humbling riyas to reclaim what I'd once mastered so naturally. But in that process, that long, slow return, I learned something even more valuable than technique. I learned patience. It's easy to think of teaching as the culmination, the final step on the ladder of expertise. But the truth is, teaching is where learning begins again. More consciously, more compassionately. My juniors don't just learn from my wins, they learn from my setbacks. I teach them about falling out of rhythm and finding it again, about missing beats, losing form, and returning without shame. I don't just pass on what I know, I refine what I thought I knew. Every question they ask reveals something I hadn't seen. Every correction I offer reflects something I'm still mastering. And so the spiral continues. Conclusion: the spiral of learning. In many ways, I began this paper the way I began my journey, on the dance floor. And here I am again. But this time, I'm not spinning to find my center. I'm standing in it. Not because I've reached the end, but because I've learned that learning will never end. So, as I conclude, I think we can all agree on one common point. Real learning isn't linear, it's a spiral. You return to the same questions, the same doubts, the same passions, but each time from a different perspective. The course of my journey till now has taught me to learn, to fail, to let go, and to teach. I've learned that adaptability isn't just about responding to a changing world. It's about responding to the changing versions of ourselves, because the two move hand in hand. While the world waits for no one, we forget that we're also consistently restructuring and reconstructing ourselves with it. Shape-shifting subconsciously to the whims of society, the games of politics, the crashes in the stock market, and the skyrocketing advancements in tech, quite literally. These changes influence our opinions, our decisions, and our choices. Skills shift, values deepen, our dreams reshape themselves, and sometimes new dreams emerge. The world doesn't just evolve around us, we evolve with it. And to accept these versions unapologetically, while staying patient and present, allows us to truly keep learning and growing. My journey with Kathak began with learning to follow. Today I teach, not because I have all the answers, but because I understand the importance of asking better questions. My time in fashion taught me that passion and creativity were only half the story. Humility and communication were the other. And letting go of that dream led me to a world I never imagined I'd be a part of. One rooted in food, in family, in legacy. Each curve on this infinite spiral has brought me back to the same truth. Learning never ends. It's not a task we complete, it's a rhythm we return to. And if we're eager, if we're brave, we keep spinning.
That was an engaging paper. I'm sure there are many questions that to be asked from. We have a rules to be followed. Please ask your question, only one question, by your name and the chapter you are from. Friends, please do not make any statement. The mic is over there, so it's your time to ask questions.
I can't resist, but excellent paper. Your repeated use of the word spinning reminds me of what Aparesh told me once when I had written a paper on staticity is the source of all dynamism.
Sorry?
Staticity is the source of all dynamism. You started with Kathak. You did all the, gallivanting and came back to Kathak. It reminds me of that. He gave me the example of a top, spinning top.
Right.
He said, at the center of all that spinning, there is total staticity. So I am seeing a highly evolved Diya very shortly. Keep up the journey. Thank you.
It's all right.
Hello, Diya. This is Lakshmanan from the Mumbai chapter. Like Ashok said, it's a fabulous talk. TP. And, the question that I got faced as I was listening to your TP is that rolling stone gathers no moss. Have you heard this? Yes. Yeah. And you moved from Kathak to Patata to designing, right? And what next? Is there a commonality of the learning, or is it that you will learn multiple things at multiple places? And did you really gather moss?
I will definitely not gather moss. And I think as of 2025, in the world that we're learning, you cannot be mastery at anything isn't linear. I think you have to be constantly reinventing yourself, constantly adapting to everything that's happening around you. And for me, I think what I'm learning with my father right now, that in itself is such a huge challenge. So that in itself is going to take me a really long way of learning. So definitely not gathering any moss. And I think I'm going to keep going.
This is a big learning for me. Thank you.
It's okay. Dear, congratulations. It's a very nice paper, and learning never ends till we are not here. Because I am interested in your topic because my daughter is also a fashion designer in textile designing for Knit Delhi. So did some work in the fashion designing line, but then she also changed her line from fashion designing to coaching. So I find similarity, and I think this change of the your different learnings. Are you somehow sorry that you are not pursuing your MIT that fashion designing career, or you are happy the way you are going about?
I won't say I'm sorry, because that gives it a negative vibe. It sounds a little wrong saying I would be sorry that I'm not doing, because I'm very grateful for what I'm already doing with my father right now. It's a privilege not many can fall back on, one that I've had. So yes, I miss fashion, and I do hope to continue one day. It's a chapter that will always be open. I can always fall back on that whenever I want.
That is the way. Thank you.
So, contrary to the advice of the Master of Ceremonies, I have come here to compliment you. This is one of the best papers I have, read and come across in the conventions. Compliment for that. I would like to ask one question. Do you plan switching of career in this entire process? As you said that learning is a spiral and not linear. That again, if you can just elaborate that. And at every stage, for example, switching from fashion to dancing or whatever, or do you have goals again for different areas?
I didn't quite understand what your exact
So
question
my
is.
question is that, do you plan switching
Okay.
of career goals? Have you set goals for different areas of learning, or
I
it comes
think-
naturally?
Okay. I would like to believe I'm stationed now. I think what I was trying to depict or demonstrate through the paper was that I've reached this point in my life and it's been a spiral to get to here. And it will continue being a spiral because it doesn't necessarily mean I will have to switch careers or I will have to formally reskill into something else. It means that insights I've gotten from other places can also be used in different domains. So it's a process where things I've learned with my dad or maybe in fashion are going to help me further when I become an entrepreneur, when I take his place. So insights travel across various domains. So I would say that it is a change in that way, but no, I don't think I will be formally reskilling into something else again.
So if I may put it just differently, whatever field the life takes us, we should learn from that.
Yes,
Thank you.
basically.
I'll directly come to the question. Isn't continuous learning a privilege? Because everyone can't get the chance to unlearn and shift to another domain, because I don't think so that particular is available for everyone. So do you think it's a privilege?
Yes and no. I do agree that safety nets and exposure unfolds learning differently for different people. And I think in my paper, for taking my example, I don't think stepping into food was a leap of freedom. It came with a lot of uncertainty and discomfort. So, contrary to popular belief, I don't think the privilege is in being able to change paths, because that doesn't necessarily mean value addition. Even if you're changing paths, doesn't necessarily mean you're actually adding any value to where you're changing your path. But the privilege is in believing that wherever you go, there will be growth. Like you will grow wherever you go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I also want to add,
Amit.
sorry, I also want to add, I think something my paper also kind of showcased was the fact that learning came with humility and adapting within constraints as well. So it doesn't matter whether you have the privilege or not, that is also an important factor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Particularly liked your paper because you're so young and you've put up such deep thoughts. So I believe learning, a lot of it, the impetus comes from you're able to visualize the future, right? So since you've learned to learn, I want to learn from you how to learn to make a future.
I think that's a perspective I'm still learning as well. I think I'm just taking it as I go. So
Okay.
whatever life throws at me, I'm a forever learner.
I won't agree with that. You've done so well to be able to reach where you are. So let's have a look at the future you see in front of you.
Right now, I think the future I see is very, it's the legacy that we have. And I really hope I can add some value. Like I said, the privilege isn't all. You need to be able to add some value to where you are. So that is my next goal, to be able to do something with what my father, his brothers, his father have done. And also fashion, because I don't think I can leave that side of me ever.
Thank you.
Diya, I'd like to ask you one question. First and foremost, your paper betrays your maturity, your age and maturity. That's something which you would like to learn. You made a very profound statement in your paper. You said your growth, your learning comes from your ability to ask questions, which was repeated in 2 or 3 places. A very profound point. So I would like to ask you, what has led to your maturity beyond your age? Second one is, how do you learn to ask good questions?
Through observation. Through observation. I think if you're too in your head sometimes, like a simple example, if I'm watching my guru dance, and she's a phenomenal dancer, which is why she's a guru. I think sometimes we get so into our head about, like, will I be able to do this? Everyone's always comparing. Everyone's always, if someone's seeing someone on stage or if someone's seeing someone do something really great, you're always just like, will I be able to do that? I think you really need to stop, focus on what's being done in front of you. And if you really observe, it's guaranteed that you're going to have at least 10 questions.
Yeah. Diya, what a wonderful paper, lovely paper. And I am becoming your fan.
Thank you.
So I'll need your autograph. All right. So you mentioned that learning is spiral, right? So do you agree with me that it's like spiral staircase?
Yes.
You go on revisiting the same point again and again, but the second time you visit there, you are one step above.
Yes.
So do you agree with me?
I do.
Thank you.
That's a very nice,
Thank you.
that's something I would want to add to my,
Diya, congratulations on your paper.
thank you.
Very profound. And I would like to state fashion industry's loss is food industry's gain. Right? So one question I have. Your shift, was it by choice or was it by design?
So this is a very important question, actually. Very nice question. I think I wouldn't say choice entirely, but choice in some way, because I felt a sense of responsibility and duty. Not necessarily pulled towards the subject matter, but because I've seen my father work so hard and his brothers work so hard, you, I think, automatically feel a sense of responsibility to do something about it.
Good.
So, and it eventually turned into curiosity.
Okay.
So,
Always remember, you have a wonderful life if you pivot and shift. Thank you.
Hi, Diya. Congratulations on an amazing, awesome paper. I mean, I don't have any questions on the paper because it's so well written. I cannot believe that a 24-year girl can write this kind of paper. You finish graduation at 21 years normally, right? You would have finished around 21.
Last.
And 3 years of experience. I've heard amazing papers from others, but they had experience. With 3 years of experience in life, writing a paper like this is just amazing. So I don't have questions on the paper, but can you tell me like, how was the effort? Like what kind of effort you put in writing this paper? I'm sure it was not an easy one. You might have put some good amount of effort in writing this paper.
I did put in effort. It took a really long time to write. But I think because I was just penning down everything that I do and I've been doing, my paper is very simple. I think it's a very straightforward, very simple paper. I can't write super fancy things anyways. So I think that's why, since it's just my lived transitions that I've kind of penned down, it was relatively easier. And I think it was more fun than challenging. Like I had fun writing it.
Wish you the very best. I'm sure whatever you do, you'll be successful. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to.
The last question.
One minute. Let me just share with you. You know, as I see you, I see myself in 1992 when I presented my first paper. Regimentation and Freedom. In fact, my paper was rejected by the committee. Aparesh personally chose my paper to be presented. And compliments to you. You know, I have been a scientist, I've been an inventor, I have 5 inventions in my name. But this paper very much resonates with the ideas I followed. You speak about creativity, you know, it wasn't about creativity, it was about precision. I don't know whether you have gone through this statement again. You know, it gives me goosebumps. And the other thing is about failing, your relationship to failure. Like you said, you know, failure is a new turn. It's not that you fail. It takes a new turn. And that takes you on a spiral towards, creativity. Okay? Wonderful paper. I enjoyed reading this. I think I read it about 5 times before I put my marks, you know. And I've written it's a cup material. Thank you.
Yeah.
Only one question, please.
So I think the most important point that you made in this paper was about this linearity and spiral. Most of us are really conditioned into believing that learning and moving in a career is all about linearity. You go around here. But spinning, I feel, is about gathering. And this, as you go along, it spins, gathers, and unfolds. A person is all about unfolding. And this spiral, I find, is a very close analogy to unfolding. And that's why it's one of the most beautiful and the most insightful points in this paper of yours is moving from linearity to spiral. Appreciate for that. Thank you.
Last question, Amit.
Congratulations, Dia. I think perhaps the youngest writer till date, I think. So I'm Amit from the Mumbai chapter. So I don't have a question on the paper, but during the course of moving from your Kathak to fashion to, you know, the potatoes and onions, okay? And now, what were you feeling at an emotional level? And what was going on within you? And how are you feeling now, looking back?
To be very honest, I was not okay. I think it was very confusing and scary because, like I've mentioned, fashion was the only thing that had been on my mind, like, since I think middle school. So to be able to get such a good placement in Bombay, working with some of the best, you know, clients, it was really hard to not take that forward. But it also felt a little weird taking that forward because I didn't want to ignore my values. So it just made sense. Also, this pull, I feel like sometimes at certain points in your life, you just don't resonate with a particular subject or a situation. And that doesn't mean you're saying like goodbye to that subject. It's just like a break for that point, and you can revisit it whenever you feel pulled towards it again.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you, Dia, for sharing such a thought-provoking paper. Thank you to the respected dignitaries for adding to the paper for your inputs. Let's send the dignitaries and TP writer back to their stage. Friends, let's give a big applause to them. Come on, celebrate.